Okay, so the main thing is to understand this, what is that, eigenvalue problem of diagonalizing the Weingarten matrix. That means what we are looking at is this problem. When will this happen? Minus lambda I, when will this be 0? That's all. The question is very simple. But what is this actually? Let's just look at this. This is as we have seen, it is the first fundamental matrix inverse, second fundamental matrix minus I. So this is 0. This, if and only if, what we do is we take this out, because let us write this. This can be rewritten as determinant. So this could be rewritten as, let us take this F inverse outside. So this will be F2 minus lambda I. Of course, I can be written as, this is written as F1 inverse F, in which F1 inverse is taken out, so F1 will remain. So this is the same. So if and only if this will happen. So what do you do? This you write as F1 inverse F2. Remember F1, remember your first fundamental matrix is always non-singular. The determinant is the norm of sigma u cross sigma v. So it's always non-zero. So this works. But you know that determinant of this is determinant of this into determinant of this. But determinant of this is non-zero because it's a non-singular matrix. So this, if and only if determinant of, so there is a small improvement here. We are not directly attacking this because it's very difficult to directly understand that. So we are trying to slowly get the advantage is these two are symmetric matrices. But still it's not clear how it works. It is still not, it doesn't still. So we look at the conjugate of this and try. That is the thing. But when you take the conjugate, what will happen is also an issue. So therefore, let's look at this guy, what will happen to its conjugate. And that's one of the things that you understand. Then you look at this and then you try to get the conjugate. So that is one of the things that we do. So for that, we should understand the following. So let us start with two vectors. Let, what notation, let's take two vectors, give some notation for that. Let, what notation is better for me? X. X can be written as, so I think I will write x1. Yeah, that's right, that's better. x1 1 sigma u plus x1 2 sigma v. Because any tangent vector can be written as a linear combination. This I am using because it's easy for us to write. And x2, you will have x2 1 sigma u plus x2 2 sigma v. So let us take these two vectors. So what we are interested in is the dot product. So then what is x1 dot xi dot xj? All of them together. You don't worry about it. Maybe x1 dot x1, x1 dot x2, x2 dot x1, which is same as x1 dot x2, and x2 dot x2. There are three quantities together. So what will you get? So this I and j, so what will you have? X I1 x j1. Okay, I think maybe it is so this is x I1 sigma u, x I2 sigma u. This is x j1 sigma u, x j2 sigma u. That's the way you look at. So if you take the inner product sigma u dot sigma u, that will give you E. So this will be x I1 x j1 plus next one will be, okay, we'll write sigma u dot sigma v. So that is F. So what are the coefficient? X I1 x I1 x J2 plus, now next is sigma V dot sigma U. So this is x I2 x J1, and finally G times x I1 x I2 x J2. So this is what you get, but this could be written, I mean this is if you take out the common factor, let me write it as, right here the common factor I am going to write as x J1 x J2 as matrices. So what do you get? So this will be E x I1, this is x I1 is here, x J2. So this will be F plus this I'm taking this J1 J2 common factor. So this is J1, this is J2, and this is J2. So we fix, there will be 4 terms. This will have J1 J2 common factor, this will also have J1 J2 common factor. So you will have 2 lines. So E x I1 plus F F x I2 into x J1 plus here J2. So F x I1 plus G x I2, so this into x J2. Okay, so if you write this as equation, so it will be something like this here. So it will be E x I1 F x I2 plus F x I2, that's first factor, then F x I1 plus G x I2 and x J1 x J2. Okay, so this is a 1/2 matrix, this is a 2/1 matrix. Now this again you can take this xi1 common, xi2 common. So you can write it as xi1 xi2, and what do you get here? You can see first term is exi1 plus fxi2 here, f, and this will be fxi1. Now you see what is happening. xi1 xj1 xj2. So this is the beauty, and we got rid of sigma u, sigma v, etc. from there. So you started with x1, so and this is, so what is that? xi dot xj is now brought down to just a matrix verification. It's completely, this is once I mentioned in the beginning also that this defines an inner product on, actually it defines the dot product on the tangent space. The dot product expressed in, because you have sigma u, sigma v, it's expressed in that basis, which is equivalent to matrix conversion. This is exactly what. So this is your dot product of x and y. Okay. So what we want is now convert this, use this very effectively. So this could be written as you take this as xi1. The standard way of writing is xi1 xi2 is one vector. This normally written as the transpose. So you can write it as some vectors in this. This could be, if you are willing me to write this, then I would write x transpose. This I will call this x transpose, or x with a line, which is the same as just writing these vector notation. F1 xi transpose, this is xj with where, of course I should write where xi is equal to x I1 x I2. So this is the first thing that we should understand, okay? And it's also important, this transpose here and transpose here. Okay, so once you have understood, we are going to, symmetrize this. Actually, we are not even symmetrizing, we are just taking transpose and doing it. But there is one way we can do it very conveniently. Suppose x1, x2 are orthonormal. So let us take orthonormal. Okay. So what will happen? If it is orthonormal, then what will you get? You get into this matrix form, the vector form, or the ordered pair form, and look at this xj. This is equal to xi dot xj, and that's equal to delta ij. This dot product is standard dot product, but this is expressed in using matrix form. Everything you convert into the standard, with respect to the basic sigma u, sigma v. So now you have only coordinates, two ordered pairs. How do you get, we know dot product, how do we get the, how do we write the dot product in terms of the coordinates coming from sigma u, sigma v, and this is the expression. So dot product, if we want to explain using coordinates, coefficients coming from sigma u, sigma v, and this is the way you get it. So this is delta ij. So now let us take this matrix equation. So that's the beautiful thing that we will see. What we do, we take x1 transpose, when we write this should be, it should be like this: x1 transpose, x2 transpose, f1, x1, x2. So this is actually, if you write it, this is going to be, the first one is x1, 1, it should be, which is the way we have x11, x12, and this is the other way. Okay, so x11, x12, and you can imagine that generally vectors are written column. So we are now writing, this is in row. You can see that this is it should, any vector should have been written column vector, but this is written in the row vector. So that's why the transpose comes. So I'm sorry, here I won't be able to write everything. This is actually equal to, I should have written the other way, x 1, 1, x12, x21, x22, E, F, F, G. Now we write the matrix itself: x11, x12, x21, x22. Now if you start this matrix into this, the matrix into this, the matrix into this, the matrix into this. So you are going to get 4 numbers. This into the matrix into this, that is x1 dot x1. This into, because this is the same vector. This in the matrix into the next one, so that is x1 dot x2. This vector, in fact, I am just putting xi, xj. So it's x2 f1 into x2 transpose, f1 into x1 transpose. So that is x1 dot x2. Now x2 transpose F1 x2. So that is, so this is what you get, dot product, yes. And what is that? Because this is orthonormal, this is going to be 1, 0, 0, 1. You started with, if you start with orthonormal vectors and write their coordinates, they write them using sigma u, sigma v, and take their x1 the coefficients matrix like this, x11, x12, x21, x22, then you look at this matrix into this, so then you are going to get this. So if you call this matrix A, as probably used in your, so let us write down this, this matrix we call this A, then A transpose, not this matrix, this we write it as A, then A transpose F1 A is actually equal to the identity matrix, because F1 actually gives the inner product. So if you take an orthonormal basis and then look at this inner products, you are going to get 0 or 1. So that's being exploited to get this. Okay, we were looking at this equation. Actually, this is what our interest was, minus lambda F1. That's what we have seen, because we started with the other one, but slowly we came down to this. We only have to look at this eigenvalue of this. But what we have seen here is this following. If you take this, the A that we have decided, then what will happen? Distribute it. So it will be A transpose F2 minus lambda A transpose F1 A. But what is that? Oh, this is A. I'm sorry. Yeah. So you look at this part. That part we have already seen that A transpose F1 A is already identity. So this reduced to, so this is one of the beauty that you see, A minus lambda I. Just now we have seen that A transpose F1 A is identity. So that's the achievement that we had. Now we have got into this. Now let us look at this matrix. Okay, so this matrix, let us call this G. Let G be this matrix A transpose F2A. Okay, this matrix, this is symmetric. That's quite trivial. Why? G transpose is equal to A transpose F2 transpose A. But the transpose of the product is transpose in the reverse order. So A transpose F2 transpose this, but F2 is a symmetric matrix. Your second, no, I have not written here. Sequence is the second fundamental matrix which is symmetric. L, M, M, N. So it is symmetric. So this is the same as A transpose F2 A, that's equal to G. So G is symmetric. Now at this point we use the standard diagonalization by symmetric, the spectral theory of symmetric matrices or self-adjoint operators in inner product spaces. This says that there is a the eigenvalues of this matrix, this G, is real, number one. Number two, the eigenvectors of distinct eigenvalues are orthogonal, and in nutshell, then there exists, say, lambda 1, lambda 2, these are the eigenvalues in R. They may be distinct or same, doesn't matter, and orthogonal matrix. This is important because if G is symmetric real matrix, then it is orthogonally symmetric to diagonal matrix. That means there is an orthogonal matrix. We have used A here, B 2 by 2 of course, such that your G is equal to, G is similar to, such that B inverse, but you know, for an orthogonal matrix, anyway, right now let me say similarity, B inverse B is equal to the diagonal matrix lambda 1 lambda 2. Okay. But remember, B inverse is the same as B transpose for an orthogonal matrix, so we could even write that. Okay. So now we come back to this guy. So we have done this. Now we are going to look at what is that going to be. So first, our interest is now, we started here. So first we took A. Now we are going to take B transpose. So let's look at in this place. So B transpose A transpose F2 minus lambda F1. Before making any computation, let us do this. A transpose B transpose. This is what we are doing. So this is going to be, so this B is a new object we have found from this particular. So let us see. So this is matrix equation you write. The first one is B transpose A transpose F2, I'm sorry, AB, no transpose there, minus again the other one, B transpose A transpose F1 AB. So this is what we are getting, the same equation. This of course comes from the, this is coming from our old friend W, okay. W is the eigenvalue problem of W. We'll come back to this again at the end. So let us compute these two characters. What is this going to be? So B transpose A transpose F2 AB. So this is the same as this, that is G. So B transpose B, GB. This is the same as lambda 1 0 lambda 2, a diagonal matrix. So that's quite simple. What about this guy? This we have already seen. B transpose A transpose F1 AB. But this is nothing but the identity matrix. So B trans, one has to be careful. There is a lambda here which I should not ignore. I shouldn't forget this. Okay, so that you leave there. So this will be B transpose identity B. But you know that B transpose is the same as B inverse because it's an orthogonal matrix. The inverse is exactly the transpose. So this is B inverse B, identity B, that's equal to identity matrix. So let's look back this. So this is, so we can substitute here. What do we get? So the first part is, so this guy, this equation, if you want to write this as something, I don't know, star. So star is equal to the first part is this guy. This is equal to, we have computed, lambda 1 0 lambda 2 minus this guy is lambda times, what is this identity? Lambda times 1 0 0 1. So that's what we have got. Okay. So now, of course, the way we have come. So what did we do? Maybe I will recall that again, I mean, for understanding. We were looking at the eigenvalue problem of W. So let us look at this determinant of W minus lambda I equal to 0. That is what we were looking at. This just push this guy inside. Okay, even before that, this is just writing, nothing very important here. This is F1 inverse F2. This we have already done, but I'm just again writing. This is equal to 0. I've just replaced it by the definition of W, or we have seen that W is equal to that. This is equal this. Here what we do is this F1 inverse we will take outside. So determinant of F1 inverse. So write identity as F1 inverse F. So F1 inverse we can take out. This is equal to F2 minus lambda F1. This I is written as F1 inverse F1. F1 inverse is taken common factor. So this. But remember, this is what is the determinant of A? I mean x into y, determinant of x into determinant of y. So this is an invertible matrix. Therefore, its determinant is non-zero. Therefore, this determinant is 0 if and only if determinant of this into determinant of this 0. That means, but this is determinant of this is non-zero. Therefore, determinant of this equal to 0. F2 minus lambda F1 equal to 0. Now push this. This if and only if. Now remember, A is a non-singular matrix. We have seen it's similar to what should I say? It is a representation of an orthonormal set of vectors with some other basis. So obviously it maps a basis to a basis. Orthonormal basis is F sigma u sigma v to T1 T2 or whatever, I don't know the notation. You can see x1 x2. x1 x2 is an orthonormal basis, orthonormal set. So it maps a basis to a basis, has to be non-singular. There is no way, and whatever be the matrix representation, but remember that may not be what is that, orthogonal, because we are writing that orthonormal set in with respect to the basis sigma u sigma v. Obviously you won't get symmetry or orthonormality. It doesn't matter to us. So therefore this if and only if, what is that we are getting? B transpose A transpose, both these are non-singular. Let me write this first, then I will again explain. F1 A B. Why? Determinant of this product of determinant of this into determinant of this into determinant of this into determinant of this into determinant of this. So the product of this is 0, 0. If and only one of them has to be 0. But determinant of this is non-zero because it's non-singular. This is non-singular, so it is non-zero. This is non-zero, it is determinant is non-zero. This is non-singular. So the only possibility is this. That means determinant of this is 0 implies determinant of this is 0. Of course, if determinant of this is 0, the product will certainly be. So therefore, if and only if. We are still working with the same thing. And what is this? This if and only if. That's what we have found out. This equation brings it down to this guy. Determinant of whatever that we have seen here, lambda 1 0 0 lambda 2 minus lambda 1 0 0 1. This is equal to 0. But when can this be 0? What is this? This is nothing but lambda 1 minus lambda, lambda 2 minus lambda. So that means, what is the determinant of this? Lambda 1 minus lambda into, this is a matrix. just multiply this, so it will be lambda lambda, subtract, what do you get? Lambda 1 minus lambda, one diagonal entry, other diagonal entry is lambda 2 minus lambda, and the off diagonal entries are 0, so its determinant is precisely this. So this equal to 0, and that, of course, if and only if, that if and only if lambda equal to lambda 1 or lambda equal to lambda 2. That means, so what have we established? If lambda is an eigenvalue of W, if and only if it is an eigenvalue of G, and eigenvalue of G are real. Therefore, the eigenvalues of W are real. It's a small trick, because we are not solving the eigenvalue problem of W, but something similar to that. Okay. Now, finally, of course, so hence the first thing that we established is, hence the eigenvalues of what is that, W are real. It's a bit tricky because W is not symmetric, so it is not easy to solve the eigenvalue problem. So we used a similar tricky issue, especially imposing this orthonormal basis. Similarity with orthonormal basis is not even basis. We are not even similarity, we are taking transpose. But wonderful, that works. Okay, so, and the crucial thing is that this works, that this identity is very crucial. That's the thing that helps us, and it works. Okay. So, now we have to look at the eigenvectors. If lambda 1 equal to lambda 2, then let us say, if you like, I will use what is given in the book, kappa. Then W minus kappa I is always 0, because this is a general linear algebra fact, because lambda 1 equal to lambda 2, that means there are two linearly independent eigenvectors. So if you take say, if y1, y2 are linearly independent eigenvectors, see, there are two eigenvalues, so you will get eigenvectors in the two directions. Okay, but if both eigenvalues are same, then it will be, which direction is irrelevant, because everything is going to be eigenvector. So that's what we are saying. y1, y2 are linearly independent eigenvectors associated with kappa. Then if you take any vector, then for every y in the tangent space, y is equal to alpha y1 plus beta y2, and wy is equal to w alpha y1 plus beta y2, and what is that going to be? Alpha times wy1, but wy1 is lambda y1, so alpha times lambda y1 plus alpha times lambda y2. So if you take lambda for outside, it will be alpha y1 plus alpha y2, beta y2, and that is the same as y. In other words, for every y, wy is equal to lambda y. So you get, oh, kappa, sorry, this is kappa. Okay, both these are eigenvalues with respect to, they are linearly independent, and eigenvalues with respect to eigenvectors, eigenvectors, yes, associated with the eigenvalue. Then if you take any vector, you can write it as a linear combination of this, because this is a basis. Two linearly independent vectors will form a basis because it's two-dimensional plane. So Wy is equal to W alpha y1 plus beta y2, and what is that going to be? Alpha times Wy1 plus beta times Wy2, but Wy1 is equal to lambda kappa y1 because it's an eigenvector associated with kappa. Similarly, Wy2 is kappa y2. So what will be this? Alpha times kappa y1 plus beta times kappa y2. Take kappa outside, so it will be kappa into alpha y1 plus beta y2. But what is alpha y1 plus beta y2? That is y. So it is kappa y. That means for every vector, it is a scalar multiple. So basically, this shows that W is equal to kappa. Yeah. So we have seen that the eigenvalues are real. Now next question is about the eigenvectors. Okay, so let's look at let y1, y2 be eigenvectors, I mean non-zero of course, associated with those two eigenvalues lambda 1 and lambda 2. Okay. So first case is case 1, that is interesting. Let us write lambda 1 equal to lambda 2. So let us call this kappa. This is the standard notation, so I will use that. Okay. So what will happen if you take any tangent vector, eigenvectors associated with this, see, because these eigenvectors we can assume to be linearly independent, because started with two different eigenvalues, then they are linearly independent. If they are same also, you can always take two linearly independent vectors. So standard linear algebra thing, okay, if y is a tangent vector, then because these y is a two-dimensional space and y1, y2 are linearly independent, so we can always say thus that y is equal to alpha y1 plus beta y2. So what can you say about Wy? Wy is equal to W alpha y1 plus beta y2. That's equal to, linearity says this is the same as alpha Wy1 plus beta Wy2. But you know that y1 and y2 are eigenvectors associated with kappa. So this is the same as alpha times kappa y1 plus beta times kappa y2. That means kappa times alpha y1 plus beta y2, but that's the same as y. So if you take any vector, any tangent vector, Wy is equal to kappa y. So what does that mean? What is W? F2 inverse F1 inverse F2 y is equal to kappa y for every y. So transferring your F2 to the other side, this means F2y is equal to kappa F1y for every y. So as linear maps, this says therefore F2 is equal to kappa times F1. This is very interesting. If the eigenvalues are same, which means your W is just a scalar multiplication. then your second fundamental form and the first is just a scalar multiple of the first fundamental form. That's the there are examples we have seen, I will come back to that, where you explicitly see such examples where the second fundamental form is nothing but a scalar multiple of the first fundamental form. So that's what you see if your eigenvalues are same. Okay, we'll also come back to its geometric. There is a name for it, etc. I will do. So now suppose lambda 1 is not equal to lambda 2, and y1 and y2 are eigenvectors associated with that. You can even call it unit eigenvectors if you like, no problem. Unit eigenvectors means norm 1. You can always assume, okay. We don't need that here, but here we can see, even here we may not need. So, I mean, as we have seen this, so what does this mean? The W y I is equal to lambda I yi. This is what we know. Wy1 is lambda 1 y1, Wy2 is lambda 2 y2. Okay? Substitute definition. So this is F1 inverse F2 this. So F1 you transfer. So this says F2 yi is equal to lambda I F1 yi. So this is what you get. Only in this particular, only in these two directions, y1 and y2. Other places it is not a scalar multiple. So the general, this is not generally true. Okay, it's only in this that's the general linear algebra part is what we are using. Okay, so for these vectors, all the eigenvectors, it will be like this. Now, okay, so what does this say? So now let me look at this. This is we can start with the lambda 1 y1 dot y2. Okay, this is either way is all right. I will have to go for a transport. So let me write lambda 2 y1 dot, whether it's irrelevant. What is that going to be? This is the dot product, so one has to be careful. Okay, so yeah, so this part I just can't avoid to get into vector forms. These are vectors, but now you have to get into what is that, coefficients. So this is very important. Let yi, let us use some notation, yi1 sigma u plus yi2 sigma u. So this is always a thing that you have to do. There is no simpler way of doing. Okay, so some better notation I will use, maybe small letter. yi is this vector yi1 yi2. Okay, so we have seen at the beginning, earlier stage, that I mean this part, first part you can apply. What is that? F2 yi1 yi2, you can even apply that. This is going to be lambda I yi1 yi2, because that equation, in that vector equation you substitute, you get it. That is not an issue. The issue will be the other one. Okay, so this is, yeah. yi, this is yi, I will take yi transpose y, the other one, yi dot yj is actually equal to yi transpose. I mean, this equation we have written. If you want, you can directly write and prove it again. Not an issue. Write it. Yi transpose F1 yj. So this, if you have difficulty with this, substitute here. So what do you get? yi1 sigma u plus yi2 sigma v dot product with yj1 sigma u plus yj2 sigma v, and now take the dot products. You are going to get this as y I1 yj1, and you go and check all these e plus f into something you get, and plus g into something, and this that is going to be the other two, and this is going to be exactly this y I1 y I2 into the matrix EF FG yj1. This we have done many times, so I am just telling yj2. This is what you are going to get. I mean, that's what I have written. Okay. So now let's look at this lambda times J1 J2. That's right. J1 J2. This we have seen. So lambda times y1 dot y2. This is enough for us. Lambda 2 times I have taken for either way it works. Maybe I can avoid transpose, I think, if I do it like this. So that is equal to lambda 2. So I will write the new notation y1 transpose, and this is f1 y2. Okay, and that is equal to, you can take this inside y1 transpose, transpose lambda 1 lambda 2 f1 y2, and that is the same as, still I think I'll have to go for the transpose. It's all right, let me see. So this is going to be lambda 2 f2 y2 is the same as lambda 2 f1 y2 is the same as y1 transpose, that's equal to f2 y2. Okay. Now remember, yeah, this is where you should understand. I want to get it into the other side. So this part, I will avoid rewriting it. Take the transpose here. But remember, this is a real number. This is dot product of two vectors is a real number. Lambda 2 is a real number. So this is just a real number, and transpose is itself. So if I take transpose of this, or all right, I can even take the transpose here. So lambda 2 y1 dot y2 transpose is the same as transpose of this. What is the transpose of this? This is the same as, oh, I should write, this is equal to lambda 2, even this one is okay, y1 transpose y1 no, I think this is better, y1 dot y2 transpose, because it's a real number. So a real number, what is the transpose? It's a 1 by 1 matrix. This whole thing is a real number, by the way. Every place you are getting a real number. So transpose does not. But there are matrices where we can use it. That is why we use this transpose idea. Okay. So that, let us write the last one. This will be Y2 transpose F2 transpose, but F2 transpose is F2 itself. It's a symmetric matrix. So that's what we were exploiting. Y1 transpose is Y1. Okay. So that is equal to, now it is done. Y2 transpose, what do you know about F2 Y1? F2 Y1 is lambda 1 F1 Y1. For both the eigenvalues, it is just lambda I F1. Okay. And what is that? So let us take this lambda 1 outside. So this is equal to lambda 1 Y2 transpose F1 Y1, and this is precisely lambda 1 Y2 dot Y1, the dot product of the two vectors. Written in the coordinate form, it will be this. And now of course, Y1 dot Y2 is the same as Y2 dot Y1. So that's equal to lambda 1 Y1 dot Y2. So what have we proved? Lambda 2 Y1 dot Y2 is the same as lambda 1 Y1 dot Y2. But lambda 1 is not equal to lambda 2. Yeah. If lambda 1 equal to lambda 2, the arguments are different. If lambda 1 is not equal to lambda 2, this means lambda 1 minus lambda 2 Y1 dot Y2 is 0. But lambda 1 minus lambda 2 is not equal to 0. So hence Y1 dot Y2 equal to 0. So this is another fact that you see in your spectral theorem, that the eigenvalues are real, and for distinct eigenvectors, the corresponding distinct eigenvalues, the corresponding eigenvectors are orthogonal. That's exactly what we are getting here. And this proof is exactly what you do, except that there is a dot product of vectors, because these Y1, Y2 are actually vectors in R3. We write it as tangent vectors using the basis sigma u, sigma v. Once you do that, then the dot product can be reduced to using F1. So this extra work, if you do, then you get this work. But the proof, even in linear algebra for not Hermitian, here we have only, what is that, orthogonal, self-adjoint operators. The proof is exactly same. You take lambda 1 and say that it is except that you have an operator here and use the symmetry or self-adjointness and get this. The proof goes almost the same, except we have a little extra work, that's all, because of coming from R3 down to the tangent plane and use the new basis and that kind of an extra argument. Otherwise the proof is same. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Of course, always we look at the first example as the plane. For the plane, it's quite simple. Your E is equal to a standard equation of the plane, standard orthonormal basis you take and then write the plane. Then E is equal to 1, F is equal to, that's equal to G, and F equal to 0. So, and of course, L equal to M equal to N equal to 0, all of them going to be 0. So you will have W is inverse of this. Inverse of this itself is going to be 1. Its identity, its inverse is that. And what is that going to be? F inverse is this, F1 inverse. So if you want, I can write F1. F1 itself is 1, 0, 0, 1. And F2, second fundamental matrix, is just the 0 matrix. So it's irrelevant what it is. So what is W? W is F1 inverse F2, that's the shape operator with respect to whatever the standard thing that we have given, but in this case the product is going to be 0, 0. So it's irrelevant, and in this case eigenvalues are going to be 0, 0, there is nothing you get, and your F2 is 0 times F1. So this is one of the simplest cases. We will come back to this because eigenvalues have some name which I will describe you. They have something to do with the curvature of the surface, curving the surface. Geometrically it has some meaning, everything we will discuss. Okay? They are called, yeah. So that's the first thing. So second thing is sphere. Sphere, standard sphere, or probably we will look at sphere with radius r, just to have a difference. So what do you get? The sigma uv is equal to the radius r, so you have to multiply by just r. So it will be r cos u cos v, r cos u sin v, and r sin u. So this is the sphere of radius r with center origin. The parameterization, putting it different ways, you can get sufficient number of them to cover the whole charts. The general expression will do. You can, your u and v, you vary between minus pi by 2 to pi by 2, 0 to 2 pi, all possible ways you get everything. So I don't have to worry. So at every point one of these expressions will work except uv changes. So let us look at now the sigma u, sigma v, all those. I think you must have done this, so I don't want to get into it. E is equal to r square. You are going to get sigma u is, I mean, again and again writing, I think this itself we have done. Now if you like, you can even shift the origin. That gives you any general sphere, some A1 plus, A2 plus, A3 plus. So A plus, center can be A1, A2, A3. That also you can do. But that doesn't affect E, F, G. F is going to be 0 and G is also R squared. I'm sorry, R square cos square U. So this is what you're going to get the, yes, and what is your LMN? L is equal to sigma u, you know, this plays, since I have not done, and it is interesting. So therefore, let's write down sigma u. This I have not done a computation. So let's write down what is your sigma u. R sin u cos v minus r sin u sin v, and finally that is r cos u. Next is sigma v is minus r cos u sin v, r cos u cos v, and this is 0. So this is what your sigma u, sigma v, and in fact how you get this, you look at sigma u norm square. Norm square will be say a square of this. So there is a cos square plus sin square goes, so you get r square sin square u plus r square cos square u. So r square, that's what you are going to get. And in the case of dot product, it's quite easy. There is an opposite sign, other terms are equal, so they get cancelled. And this is anyway 0. So f is 0. What is your g? G is norm of this. What is the norm of this? R square cos square u, and you have sin square u plus v plus cos square v, that is 1. So you get r square cos square u. So that's what I have written here. That's easy to compute. So let us compute sigma uu. That's once again differentiate with respect to this. So you get back your original expression with a minus sign. R cos u cos v minus R cos u sin v, and here minus R sin u. There is no surprise in it. Okay, you get back the same expression with a minus sign. That's all, because you are differentiating with respect to u twice. Okay, let us look at sigma uv. Sigma uv. What is sigma uv? Differentiate this with respect to v again. So this will be R sin u sin v, and this is minus R. There is one minus sign, so one more, so it is plus. And here, yes, minus R sin u cos v, and this is 0. You are differentiating with respect to v, and this is the same as sigma vu. If you have difficulty, check, differentiate this with respect to u, you are going to get exactly this sigma v, no, this, differentiate this with respect to u, you are going to get exactly this expression. You can check, it is not a very big thing. Now let us write sigma vv. What is sigma vv? This we are differentiating with respect to v. So this will be minus R cos u cos v. This is again minus R cos u sin v, and 0. Hope I have not made any error. You are differentiating this with respect to v. So this will become a cos v. This will become minus sin v. So we have written, R. Okay. Everywhere R is there. All right. Okay. So now the normal is this is equal to sigma u cross sigma v by norm of it. Sigma u cross sigma v is this, leave this, determinant of this. Determinant of this is 0, so minus R square cos square u cos v. Minus R square cos square u cos v. That's right. And next, the middle is removed, so you should take the minus of this determinant, or first this and this. So this goes, so you have this one. So minus R square cos square u sin v. Minus R square cos square u sin v. And the last one, you leave this determinant of this part. So this you have to carefully check. Minus R square comes. This is sin u cos square v. Okay. And this side, there is a minus sign, plus there are two more minus signs. So there will be 3 minus signs. So it is minus, no problem. So minus R square. So cos u sin u is there, and there is a sin square. So here there is a cos square v plus a sin square v, they go. So you will have minus R square cos u sin u divided by the norm of it. So let us just compute the norm of this, square root of whatever we get, norm of that vector. So let's look at this. R raised to 4, there is a common factor R raised to 4. And what do you get? Cos square u is common here. So cos raised to 4u and cos square u plus sin square u. So that's 1. So you have a cos raised to 4u. Then what will you get here? Here you get plus cos square u sin square u. So cos square u sin square u, but this one cos square I can take out. So this will be, if you take a common factor cos square outside, then what will you get? You will get cos square u plus sin square u, that is 1. So, you will have only cos square u, and now of course you can take the square root, you can remove. So, this is r square cos u, there is a modulus, okay, modulus, assuming I mean that is required. And now let us cancel all those things. So, this r square first can be cancelled, because r square is the radius which is always positive, non-zero, so you can cancel. And you also have a cos u. You cancel cos u with one cos u here, cos u with a cos u here, cos u with a cos u here. So, this is going to be plus or minus, but the standard procedure is you have two normals. And the standard procedure is to take the inward one. This is the inward one, minus. So, this is, if you check this, this is nothing but sigma uv upon wait a minute. Sigma u, this is not sigma uv. This is sigma uv upon r, because sigma uv, if you look at it, okay, so this is sigma uv upon r and minus. So, it is the same vector that you know from the sphere. So, if you look at the sphere, the center, this is the radius r. So, what is the normal at this point? Normal is, this is the vector sigma uv, the point or whatever, and just take the minus. But remember, this is unit. So, this length is r, so you have to divide by r to get the unit vector. So, this is your normal. We are taking it inward for some certain reason we will see later, because there is a change in the way you look at, whether you are standing inside, you see concave things. Whereas if you stay outside, then you see things are convex. So, this normal is inward. That means you are standing in the normal and looking at the sphere inside, you see it's concave around you. Whereas if you stand outside, what you see is convex. But this the standard practice is to take this negative one. Okay? So, that is your normal done. Now, of course, I have to compute. You have to compute your LMN. L is this is just for geometric understand I have written, but it's easy for you now to understand what is this normal. So, that is why I have said it's exactly that. I mean, in case you are making computation to confirm this is the best way, are you getting back sigma uv, then you are done. Otherwise, you have made error. Okay, so it is a lot of ocean of computation. You may probably land up in errors, but if you know this, then you are done. And geometrically also, it's very easy to understand. The same vector in the back direction, it is pointing towards the origin. This points towards the origin because it's negative of that. That's how you look at the normal. Okay, fine. Now L. What is L? This inner product with dot product with sigma uv. So, if you take the dot product here itself, you can see it is equal to minus r square. No, sorry. This you divide, so there is only a minus r. One of them goes because there is a divided by r, so there is no r here when you take that. That's the only difference, and minus. So, let us look at this. So, r we take out. So, this will be minus sign is already there, and then now you look at this is cos u sin u cos square v, and the next one will be cos u sin u. Okay, but one has to be careful. Both the signs are, these are positive, these are negative, so that part is matching. So, you have cos u sin u and then cos square v plus sin square v, so that is one. So, cos u sin u plus the last one RU. So this is going to be again cos u sin u. So that will be cos, let's check it again. This is r cos u sin u cos square v plus r cos u sin u cos square v. So that's equal to r cos u sin u plus r cos u sin u. So there is a, here there is a minus sign, can't be 0, it cannot be 0 because there is no yeah, let's see. So let's compute again. No, I'm using this itself is easy, no? Just ignore this r.
Sigma u or sigma u?
Sigma, oh, correct. That is the thing. Okay, I was using. Sorry. Yeah. So let's do this. You may still get 0, but that's a different issue. Sigma uu. So what do you get? This r is not there, so there is a minus r throughout. So that we can take out. And then let us look at cos u. So cos square u. Cos square u, cos square v. Next one is cos square u, sin square v. So that will be just cos square u. Cos square u, cos square v plus cos square u, sin square v. And the last one is plus sin square u. So that's equal to minus r. Okay? L. So m, but why minus? I thought it should be plus because you are in the inward normal. Oh, sorry, there is a minus sign here for this. So it is plus because you are standing inside. It is expected to be, the surface is curving towards you. So therefore, it should be positive. We will come to that later. M is equal to, m is expected to be 0. Let us look at this. So this is sigma uv. So there is an r here. There is no r here. There is an r here. So r and that minus sign, I will put minus sign here. So now let us take so what do you get? So this is going to be cos u sin u cos v sin v. And this one, there is one minus sign. And cos u sin u cos v sin v. So they get cancelled, other get cancelled. So this is 0. M is going to be 0. All right. So now last one is n. N is this inner product with, again, only 2 terms. So let us see. So there is this, there is no r here, but there is a minus sign. So that minus sign I will put.
You have to use v.
And there is an r coming out. Yeah.
You have to use the last one, v.
This is v. Oh, this is vv. I'm sorry. This is vv. So okay. So you have taken minus r. There is one more minus. So it will be plus r. There is no r here. So this will be cos square u cos square v. And here the signs are same. So that minus plus r will remain there. Cos square u sin square v. So you are getting r cos square u cos square v plus cos square u sin square v. So cos square v plus sin square becomes 1. So this is cos square u. So you are getting r cos square u here. And this is, of course, plus we have noticed I rewrote this here. This is equal to r plus r. Yeah. So what is your F2? Not bad, looks fine. F2 is r 0 0 r cos square u. What is your F1? I didn't write F1. let's write F1 F1 computation. We still have it will be R square 0 0 R square cos square u. Well, this is beauty. Okay, I suppose this works very well. So let us see what is F1 inverse, what is W. F1 inverse, if you use a diagonal matrix, the inverse F1 inverse is just write the diagonals 1 upon. So it will be 1 upon R square, so it will be F1 inverse is 1 upon R square 0 0 1 upon R square cos square u. And what is F2? F2 is R 0 0 R cos square u. And what is the product? Just diagonal matrix, so multiply by the diagonal. So here is 1 upon R 0 0 1 upon R. So that's the, and it's already it's a diagonal matrix, so its eigenvalues are precisely 1 upon R, and they are supposed to be the curving. I mean, if you remember the circle, curvature of the circle, you can explicitly see the same thing happens on the sphere. Same 1 upon R comes as the curvature. It's positive because you are taking inward normal, and therefore the surface is curving towards you. If you are standing in the inside the sphere, the surface curves towards you. That's why you get this. That's because you took normal in the inward normal. If you have taken outer normal, everything becomes negative. There is not much of a difference. Everything will become minus. That's all. And this is one example where kappa 1 equal to kappa 2. So any two orthonormal vectors you can take, because all are eigenvectors. There is no difference at all. The whole tangent plane is, set of eigenvectors. You are what is that? Weingarten map is nothing but multiplication by 1 upon R. And in this case, you go back and check. You can easily see that your F1, your F2 is actually equal to 1 upon R F1. We have just noticed if the eigenvalues are same, then you are going to get this, and you can see it here. You have seen an example here, you have seen another example where this happens. And this example is nice, we will come back.